Hello, dear children. Namaste and welcome to this session of your Class 10 ICSE Biology chapter, The Excretory System. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this amazing platform of Vedantu. Okay, children, so we are actually left with just a little bit of miscellaneous set of topics from the chapter Excretory System, which is, as you know, a part of your human physiology unit, right? So I think this should be our last teaching session for this chapter of human physiology. So with that, let's move on. We are done with the major chunk of this chapter, which was about structure and function of kidneys, structure and function of nephrons, and about mechanism of urine formation. We've seen all this in our earlier sessions. So before we jump into the topics of today, here is your motivational quote. How can I start without giving you that? So this is what I have to tell you today. Your future is created by what you do today and not what you do tomorrow. Children, let's always remember this. You, me, and all children and adults alike must remember that now is the right time to make a positive change in our lives. If we just keep putting it off for the best muhurat or the best moment, the most auspicious moment, for whatever reason or for whatever excuse we may want to give, it's definitely not going to happen. Let's decide that our future is in our hands, and our future is decided, created by what we do today, and I would say right now. Okay, so let me share some exciting piece of news with you. It's been celebration time at Vedantu for the last few months, ever since our class 10 and 12 board exam results have come up, because most of our students have come out with flying colors and have done amazingly well. So here we are adding to our set of gems, which is the news about our students bagging top ranks in IIT JEE, which is supposed to be one of the toughest competitive exams across the entire country. And this has been by far seen to be the best results amongst all online classes. Certainly, we must appreciate all these children who have done amazingly well. We would call them Superscorers from JEE Advanced 2020. Well, I would specially appreciate all of these children for the fact that they have gone through everything that all of us have also gone through in this year. 2020 has been a year of pandemic, and we never expected it to affect us so much. For the last few months, in fact, almost 2020 is almost done. And despite all of this uncertainty and confusion in exam dates and coaching centers shutting down, like offline classes shutting down, so much of uncertainty must have been faced by these children also, just like most others. Despite that, nothing has stopped them from achieving what they wanted to. So, hearty congratulations to all our super scorers. And I would also like to specially congratulate their parents and the teachers who have worked day in and out to help them achieve this. So, children, certainly, I think in addition to sharing this piece of happiness with you, for me, the intention is also to get you inspired, to be inspired by them, because if they can achieve it, you can also do amazingly well in your class 10 board exams. Forget for now about JEE or NEET or whatever, chartered accountancy or whatever you want to do. That's a different thing. But that can wait for the next few months. If you already have a clarity, then that's great. But then if not, don't fuss too much over it. You still have a few months of time. Just start preparing for your 10th board exams right now. Things will fall into place after that. Okay? Just remember the value of time. Have faith in yourself. This was the homework I had given you in the last session. Remember, the amount of blood filtered by kidney each day is dash. Why am I talking about kidney being filtered? In case you have lost contact with the last session, that is, it is the glomerulus into which the afferent arteriole brings blood, and it is this blood which gets filtered into the Bowman's capsule, and that marks the first step of urine formation. Remember? So it is by filtering blood that all the metabolic waste, nitrogenous metabolic wastes, are getting eliminated by our nephrons and hence the kidneys. This is why this figure becomes worth knowing. The kidneys filter 141.9 liters of blood per day. Imagine how much blood does your body have? Roughly around 5.5 liters of blood in an average human being. Imagine how many rounds it's going through your kidneys to get filtered. The kidneys filter 141.9 liters of blood approximately, but out of this, only 0.94 to 1.89 liters get converted to urine. This is an average estimate, a rough estimate, based on a normal healthy individual who consumes normal quantities of water, like healthy quantities of water, neither too much nor too less. Okay, so this is certainly worth knowing, and today let us learn about the constituents of urine, regulation of urine output, osmoregulation, and what we call artificial kidney. Okay, so as I said, a miscellaneous set of topics. So we should be done within no time. It'll be very simple. Okay, but then as far as your exams are concerned, in my opinion, these topics would play a role, especially when it comes to your 1 mark questions, especially in section A. But in section B also, as a sub question, there is enough scope for it to come. Okay, so be thorough with whatever, be very familiar with whatever we are going to be talking about now. So the physical properties of urine. Most of us know this because the color is said to be clear yellow, okay, due to the presence of urochrome, and the color may also vary based on diet. Sometimes, some days it can be noticed to be dark yellow, deep yellow, sometimes like a lighter, clearer shade of yellow, and so on. And it also depends on largely on the amount of fluids that you have been taking in. Okay, so people who don't drink enough water, for instance, would observe urine to be really dark in color, whereas people who consume too much water, like more than normal, like 5-6 liters and all that, more than what is required by your body, may find that the frequency of urination is also obviously high, and at the same time the color is also a lot paler than normal. Normally it is clear yellow in color. Volume per day, as we've seen, it's roughly around 1 liter to 1.5 liters, but then it can vary from person to person, and also, as I said, according to the amount of water that you consume in a day. And then pH it's said to be slightly acidic, like 5 to 8 is said to be the normal pH, especially when it comes to a person who largely consumes a protein diet. It's said to be slightly on the acidic side, whereas for a vegetable diet, the pH of urine is said to be slightly in the alkaline range. Okay, so but not too alkaline, nor is it too acidic, but roughly this is the range, 5 to 8. And then what about the odor? It's got a faint odor, but if kept for a very long time, then strong ammonia smell can develop due to bacterial activity. So, it's not a funny thing. In fact, although people may wonder why we are talking about all this is all important to know, children, because this is all related to our physiology, our body, and whatever our body produces, and whatever is related to our health. Okay, so any abnormality in this, we should be able to identify it at least to a basic extent for ourselves. Okay, so this is why many times you must have observed that in public toilets, if many people, like, they just leave it without pouring water and cleaning the place, or without flushing, especially in many remote parts of the country, we might come across a lot of such places. So that is because of bacterial activity that the strong ammonia smell eventually develops. And specific gravity is said to be around 1.003 to 1.035. So these are the most important physical properties of urine. Coming to the constituents of urine. Now we know that urine is largely made up of water, right? But how much of water? 95% of urine is composed of water, while the remaining 5% is made up of solid wastes, all the nitrogenous waste that we know about. So these are the most common organic and inorganic constituents that we would find in urine. Children, notice that the values have been given in the units of gram per liter. Okay, so organic constituents in gram per liter, urea for instance, you would find it it's there in a proportion of 2.3 grams per liter of urine. Creatinine would be seen to be around 1.5 grams per liter, uric acid 0.7. There would be other miscellaneous organic substances all together adding up to approximately 2.6 grams per liter. As far as inorganic constituents are concerned, NaCl, of course, we know that there is salt also, plenty of salts also that get eliminated along with water in urine. So NaCl is one important constituent of urine. Sodium chloride, as you know, 9 grams per liter, in fact. And then potassium chloride, also a little bit of it, 2.5. Ammonia is 0.6, and other miscellaneous inorganic substances can add up to around 2.5 grams per liter. So this is just for you to get an idea, because any abnormality in this, too less or too much of any of these constituents, can become harmful to the person, can cause health effects. So this is a list of a few of the most common abnormal constituents of urine. In case there are blood cells which get eliminated along with urine, which is not normal, okay? If blood cells do get eliminated along with urine, we call that a condition called hematuria, okay? Wherein blood passes in urine, it could be because of some urinary tract infection, like some serious urinary tract infection. It could also be because of kidney stones, or it could also be as a result of tumors, okay? But whatever it is, just in case we notice any of this, it's always advisable not to make our own judgments. It's always advisable to get a medical practitioner's, a qualified medical practitioner's advice before you go on to treat yourself, in case any of this is observed, okay? Then in case glucose, too much of glucose is eliminated with urine, we call it a condition called glycosuria, wherein there is excess glucose in urine, and it's a condition called diabetes mellitus, right? So diabetes mellitus is said to be the most common form of diabetes, which affects many people across the world, especially in India and many other countries around the world. This is said to be one very, very common disorder. So why does it occur? Diabetes mellitus commonly occurs because of insufficient insulin hormone levels in a person's body. So because of that, the blood sugar levels aren't under control, and as a result, too much glucose is there in the patient's blood, and as a result, a lot of glucose can also pass along with urine, which means the urine would be rather sweet for diabetic patients. And then albumin, which is a protein, and if there is excess albumin which is secreted into your urine, it is called a condition by the name albuminuria, which could occur due to high blood pressure or increased permeability of the Bowman's capsule membrane, because normally albumin and many other proteins of your blood, this is a protein that normally naturally occurs in your blood. So in a normal healthy person, this wouldn't pass through the Bowman's capsule at the stage of ultrafiltration. But then sometimes, because of some disorder, some disturbance in the body, Bowman's capsule can become excessively permeable to such substances. So albumin can pass along the pores and get into the Bowman's capsule and get filtered along, get eliminated along with the urine. This is when albuminuria can be observed. Okay, that too, a little bit is fine, but doctors do have like a measure above a certain level. It is said to be dangerous. And then bile pigments can also occur, like to be eliminated along with urea, which can occur due to anemia, hepatitis, or liver cirrhosis. Okay, bile pigments are substances which are produced in the liver, and they have a role to play in detoxification of a lot of substances in the body. So if at all there is too much bile pigments that are produced because of some kind of condition like anemia or hepatitis and liver cirrhosis are all liver related, like purely liver related disorders. So because of any such disorders, they can get secreted. They can either get into the small intestine along with bile while digestion is happening, and they can exit the body through the large intestine, like along with the fecal matter. But sometimes bile pigments may also reach the kidneys along with blood filtration, along with the blood flow, and if that's the case, they can get eliminated along with urine also. So this is about abnormal constituents of urine, children. Once again, blood cells, we call it hematuria, glycosuria if there's excessive glucose, albuminuria if there's excess albumin in urine, and bile pigments which get excessively secreted due to conditions like liver related situations, conditions like hepatitis, anemia, and liver cirrhosis. Now let's understand a term which is called diuresis. So diuresis is basically a situation wherein excess water, you know what the kidney and your nephrons do together to form urine, right? The tubular parts of your nephron, normally they are capable of reabsorbing excess water back into the bloodstream. We are all aware of this. But then sometimes it happens that because of some illness, this reabsorption of water doesn't happen normally. Okay, at least until what is, as long as the person is healthy, it will happen normally, like normal levels of reabsorption would occur. But then otherwise, because of some illness, it can happen that the urine produced would be highly dilute, excessively dilute. Okay, so it could be like dilute urine can occur because of various reasons, as I have told you. If the person consumes too much fluids, or if the person consumes certain food items as part of diet, it can cause dilute urine. But then we are not talking about that. We are talking about a condition, a more serious condition, wherein a hormone called vasopressin or anti-diuretic hormone, which is normally secreted by the posterior pituitary gland. You know what the pituitary gland is, right? It's called the master gland, which is a part of the brain. The posterior pituitary gland normally secretes a hormone called ADH or vasopressin. So this is a hormone which stimulates the kidneys to reabsorb water into the body. Okay, so in a person with a kind of brain injury or some other kind of illness, posterior pituitary related illness, it can get affected. Sufficient ADH levels may not be secreted, which means sufficient reabsorption of water is not happening in the person. That means large amounts of dilute urine can get released. Such a condition wherein excessively dilute urine is getting released by the body is called diuresis. Okay, so what about this? Now, adrenal glands are a pair of glands which are located right above the kidneys. Okay, so here is one of your adrenal glands shown right above this particular kidney. Adrenal glands also secrete a hormone called aldosterone. Now, aldosterone and ADH, in fact, function together as a system to help in the reabsorption of salts and water. ADH is chiefly for water reabsorption. Aldosterone helps in balancing fluid electrolyte levels in our blood. Okay, so if there is any issue with aldosterone or ADH, it can result in diuresis, which means insufficient amounts of these hormones can cause diuresis. So let us understand a slightly more complex problem, which is called diabetes insipidus. Is it related to diabetes mellitus? It's actually completely unrelated. But then why is it called so? Diabetes mellitus, if you remember, I told you, is a condition wherein sufficient amounts of insulin levels are not produced by the pancreas of the patient. So in such a situation, there is too much of sugar in the blood, there is too much of glucose in the blood and urine also because of that. Whereas this is a condition wherein there is insufficient ADH hormone secretion. Okay, insufficient ADH secretion rather. It could be because of a pituitary disorder. So why is it even called diabetes? Shouldn't it be something related to blood sugar levels? Well, even I used to think about this back when I was a student. So the name diabetes actually refers to the fact that both of them are related to excessive production of urine. Okay, in both of them, be it diabetes mellitus or diabetes insipidus, in both of them, there is excessive thirst and excessive urine production. Okay, which means during the night also the affected patients may wake up like 2 to 3 times to visit the toilet. So this is the only common thing between the two. But mellitus is for sugar patients, insipidus is for ADH insufficiency. Okay, so this is about diabetes insipidus. The main difference is that the urine of diabetes insipidus patients would be more or less tasteless because there is no glucose in their urine as compared to mellitus. So here we go. This is a nice cartoony way of representing diabetes insipidus. So as you can see, there's the pituitary gland, especially it's the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, which produces anti-diuretic hormone. And what does that do? It acts like the control point, okay, like the tap, like the control tap, and decides how much of urine has to be released by the kidneys, whether depending on how much ADH is secreted, the amount of watery urine that is produced by the kidneys would depend completely on that. For example, if there is sufficient ADH hormones, it means reabsorption of water can normally occur and urine amounts produced would be normal. Remember the meaning. Diuresis is a condition where excessively dilute urine, too much of urine is produced. When it is anti-diuretic hormone, what do you think it does? ADH, what it does is anti-diuretic hormone prevents diuresis. It is against diuresis. Okay, so it helps prevent diuresis in a healthy human being, and because of that, in a patient with insufficient ADH levels, there is excessive diuresis happens because of insufficient ADH levels. I hope that's clear to you. Okay, just don't memorize all this, children. Remember what the meaning of diuresis is. So because of that, you will get to know what ADH is. And as a result, in ADH insufficiency, what would occur? You will be able to relate to this, I'm sure. So it could be for a patient with a history of a head injury, as I told you earlier, pituitary tumor, or anything, any procedures like craniotomy, or anything else. As I said, any issue related to the posterior pituitary gland can result in such an issue. So vasopressin hormones will have to be administered, and signs and symptoms would be whatever is mentioned in this bucket. So for example, the patient would produce up to 20 liters of urine per day. Specific gravity of the urine would be lowered, osmolarity would be lowered, and all of such symptoms can be seen. As I said, thirst, excessive thirst can be seen. Although the patient might just have had a lot of fluids, the patient might end up feeling thirsty. Okay, lowered blood pressure, and so on. All of these are signs and symptoms of this disease. And when it comes to caring for such a person, monitor fluids of the body, fluids in the body, replace fluids if required, the neurostatus, vital signs, mucous membranes, all of these will have to be cared for in a patient with diabetes insipidus, because it shouldn't be taken light. In severe conditions wherein it goes unnoticed or ignored, it can lead to huge issues. It can lead to a kidney failure also. Okay, children, let's take a very quick break now, and let me tell you something that will benefit all of you. The problems which most children face these days are with regard to, yes, online classes is what I'm talking about, unanswered doubts, no proper access to notes, because most children these days are so dependent on their school teachers' notes that they are not capable of making their own notes, and many children think it's a waste of time. But then when it comes to preparation, they come to all of us and ask, ma'am, can we get notes? Ma'am, can we get notes? So this is about it. And then tests and assignments, man, the phase of tests and assignments, the format has completely changed, as we know. Competitive exam preparations has become a challenge. Your Olympiad exams, your KVPY exams, NEET, JEE, everything is a challenge these days. Choice of schedule, because online classes everywhere, school and at home, like sharing the same gadgets between siblings, schedule clashes can be a huge problem. Choice of language, yes, and that's the very reason we started this channel, right? Vedantu 9th and 10th English, in order to solve it up to a certain extent. So not just that, we have got all of these problems solved for you, in addition to giving you a lot of bonuses, children, because we completely believe that students shouldn't get affected adversely by any situation that's happening around. Okay, so we provide you with unlimited live classes, plenty of micro courses and crash courses. We give you your performance reports, personalized attention from master teachers and class teachers, and whatnot. Plenty of other things. All you have to do is to know more about this. Visit the link given in the description box below and the pinned comment below in the comment section, and use the coupon code AMBPRO to know more about this. Okay, but then I will just guide you through it step by step. Visit the link I've told you about and choose your grade. Okay, so for you, I think I'm assuming it's going to be class 10, and then you will have to choose your board. So for you, it's going to be ICSE 2021, or if it's CBSE or Maharashtra board, whatever, as relevant to you, make sure you select that. Check out the details. What is included in Vedantu Pro has been given to you here well in detail. So all the major features are mentioned here. In fact, these are just some of them. There are plenty of other features also. After you go through this in detail, click on the button that says get subscription. Okay, yes, it is a subscription that we call it. So we have three major plans: 1 month, 3 months, and a 6 months plan. For a 1 month pro subscription plan, the normal pricing for all your major subjects together for 30-day subscription is 2,699, wherein for that 1 month you will get unlimited live classes, test series and analysis, assignments and notes, and plenty of others more. Okay, well, I personally think this itself is very reasonably priced, but then because you are our very dear children, we are giving you an offer here, which is further reduction in this. Application of the coupon code AMBPRO reduces this amount further to 2,159. Okay, so make use of it, children. Definitely, if you think this suits your budget, for 1 month, it means for 30 days you can be tension free. But then if you want to be tension free for a few more weeks, which is for 3 months, what do? Subscribe for 3 months and be tension free. Normally, the pricing for 3 month subscription is 6,999, but apply the same code AMBPRO to get it reduced to 5,599.2. Okay, and for 6 months, the normal pricing is 11,499, and apply the coupon code AMBPRO to reduce the amount payable to 9,199.2. So, children, if you're still wondering whether or not this is worth so much expense, I can personally tell you from my experience that as a parent, I'm sure your parents would also agree with me if I said education is only becoming more and more expensive every single year. Okay, because that's how things are, that's how situations are, and especially now, because situations around the world have completely changed. As I said, in 2020 things are becoming even more expensive, because people are all kinds of people and businesses are trying to make up for the loss that they have faced during the lockdown and pandemic. But then at Vedantu, everyone has a common goal, and that is to make education affordable to all, accessible to all, regardless of which part of the world you are in, which part of the country you are in, doesn't matter. Beyond language barriers. That is exactly why, as I said, we are coming up with more and more multiple channels also on YouTube to solve the problem of language, because we believe in giving equality to every child in the country, right? So, as much as possible, we are doing our best. So, make use of this also, because think about it, it's way cheaper than any course that you would find out there in the country. Okay, most courses are charged, especially like private classes. If you think about it, per hour they charge you so much these days. Think about it, 6 months for all your major subjects, it's costing you just this much. Or if you want to go with the 3 months or the 1 month plan, it's completely up to you. I leave it to you, but then it's my responsibility to give you full details about it and make it clear to you that this is certainly worth giving a try. Okay, children, so definitely do not miss out on this opportunity. We are always here to support you no matter what. Okay, getting back to our contents of the chapter. Osmoregulation. What exactly is osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is the phenomenon by which the balance between fluids and solutes in the body are maintained. Osmoregulation is the regulation of all these solutes and fluids. That's why the name says osmoregulation. So this is something that occurs in all organisms, even in aquatic organisms. Osmoregulation, they have their own mechanisms. So how exactly does it occur? So yes, as you can see, the hypothalamus, which is another major endocrine gland, which is part of your brain, plays a major role in this. So what happens is hypothalamus, we'll come back to it as a cycle. Okay, so hypothalamus stimulates the posterior pituitary to release ADH, antidiuretic hormone. So when this happens, the person drinks water. ADH stimulates the kidneys to reabsorb more water. Okay, then homeostasis, water levels in the blood are pretty much balanced. Now, when the person drinks a lot of water, um, the water level may rise above normal range. Okay. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next concept, which is a term called osmoregulation, which is a phenomenon by which there is a solute water balance that is maintained or regulated in your body. This is osmoregulation. So terrestrial organisms and aquatic organisms all have their own mechanisms of osmoregulation. So in our body, how does it occur? Let's be concerned about that because this is human physiology, right? So let's start with this point, which is homeostasis, wherein water levels in blood are pretty much maintained, okay, balanced. So sometimes when it comes to a situation where water level rises above the normal range, what happens? Your hypothalamus, which is a major endocrine gland, which is part of your brain, it detects low solute concentration because water level is rising above normal range. That solute water balance is lost. There is an imbalance. So the hypothalamus detects low solute concentration, and then it tells your posterior pituitary to release less ADH, okay, because ADH is produced in the hypothalamus and stored in the posterior pituitary and is released by the posterior pituitary as necessary. So hypothalamus detects this and it tells its best friend or the closest friend, which is pituitary, hey pituitary, my dear buddy, release less ADH, okay, because this person has low solute concentration in his or her body. And then the pituitary stimulates your kidneys to reabsorb less water, okay. And then what happens? Yes, the water levels in blood would be pretty much maintained, like more or less there is a balance again. So sometimes when it happens that water level drops below the normal range, what do you think occurs? When this happens, the hypothalamus detects a higher concentration of solutes in blood. Water levels drop. So excessive solutes which are there, again, that's a case of imbalance, but then the mechanism by which it's treated would be a little different, because when the hypothalamus detects higher concentration of solutes, it creates feelings of thirst, excessive thirst. So when this happens, the hypothalamus tells posterior pituitary, buddy, it's time to release more ADH now, and pituitary releases more ADH, and these feelings of thirst along with this greater ADH secretion stimulates the person to drink more water. ADH stimulates the kidneys to reabsorb more water. Okay, this is how both of these situations are maintained when there is a rise in water level above normal and when there is a reduction in water level below the normal range. So more or less our body is able to maintain homeostasis by its natural mechanisms. So this is how osmoregulation occurs in the human body with the help of the hormone which we call antidiuretic hormone, which is secreted by posterior pituitary. Okay, so here is another related disease. Although we know it's a communicable disease, it's a condition which we call cholera, which, as you all know, is an acute intestinal infection. It causes severe diarrhea, dehydration, and if not treated promptly, it can even result in death. So why it is mentioned here is because it's related to water. It normally spreads through ingestion of contaminated food and water. Contaminated with what? Contaminated with cholera bacteria. Okay, so in the epidemic, when this disease occurs, the fecal matter of a diseased person, an affected person, normally serves to be the source of contamination. Water or food which is contaminated with slight amount of fecal matter from an infected person can get ingested by another person, like unknowingly, because this person doesn't know. Because it's part of water and unknowingly getting mixed up for whatever reason. So when that occurs, it can result in complications. So what happens in the large intestine? Bacteria multiply rapidly. Toxins from bacteria penetrates the cells of the intestinal wall, and the toxin prevents the intestine from absorbing water from digested food. So diarrhea and dehydration can all result. Okay, so all of this related to water and dehydration, and that is why it's worth being aware of this also in the context of whatever we've been discussing until now. Although yes, it is part of your digestive system and not your excretory system directly. So the treatment involves, just like any other case of dehydration, Of course, salt solution, intravenous fluids, antibiotics because it's a bacterial infection. And in unprepared communities, death rates can be very, very high. It can be as high as 50%. So this normally like breaks out so much in remote areas or underdeveloped areas where facilities are not too good, overcrowded areas where sources of water are shared between people and so on. Okay, so that's about cholera. Now let's come to the artificial kidney. Now, in a person in whom there is a permanent kidney damage for whatever reason, dialysis is one procedure which is prescribed. So dialysis has to be repeated for 12 hours twice a week. Okay, for a like on an average, this is how dialysis is prescribed to a person who needs it. So how exactly is it done? We call this process hemodialysis or artificial kidney because it has to be a system that replicates the functions of the patient's kidneys, right? What do your kidneys do? Basically, what do your nephrons do? The nephrons are able to filter out a lot of components through the Bowman's capsule. They are able to do a lot of reabsorption, a lot of tubular secretion, and finally they are able to eliminate the waste matter in the form of urine. So imagine in a patient in whom kidneys fail to function normally, there would be too much accumulation of nitrogenous waste, and that can be very, very dangerous for that person. So in such a patient, what is done is the patient is made to lie down or sit comfortably, and a setup, an artificial setup, which can work exactly like the nephrons would be set up. So what exactly is done is from the patient's artery, okay, from the patient's artery, just like how afferent arterioles would enter into the glomerulus to give the blood supply to the nephrons, just like that, arteries would be blood would be taken in from the taken out rather from the artery, and would be made to pass through a setup, through a pressure monitor. There is a blood pump which pushes it further inside, and there is also it is made to pass through what we call a dialyzing filter. Okay. So what it does is this filter, although it looks like a very simple tube, it's not exactly very simple. This is a system wherein there is a system of tiny tubular substances, tubular passages which are there, and all of them replicate the functions of the tubular parts of your nephron. All kinds of reabsorption, secretion, everything occurs through these tubular parts. So what exactly is this heparin pump? So heparin is pumped in constantly so that the blood doesn't clot. Okay, so through the dialyzing filter, the blood is passed through, and inside the dialyzing filter, like outside these tubes which I have told you, there is a fluid which is getting filled up. Okay, constantly a fluid which is getting filled up, and based on the osmotic differences between the blood which is passing through these capillary tubes, and the dialyzing fluid which is there inside this filter, there is reabsorption and secretion which is happening constantly. And as a result, whatever is unwanted in the blood gets removed as waste matter, gets eliminated. Okay, so the clean dialysate, as you can see, gets continuously pumped in to the dialyzing filter from here. So that is what keeps exchanging materials along with the blood which is passing through these tiny tubes. And then the filtered blood passes out of the dialyzing filter, and again through a pressure monitor and air trap and all of that, it passes back into the vein of the patient's body. As you can see, it enters into the vein of the patient's body, it enters the normal bloodstream, and eventually enters into the vena cava and empties into the heart of the patient. So this is how blood gets filtered through an artificial kidney in the process of hemodialysis in a patient who has kidney related issues. Okay, but then on the downside, on the flip side of it, this is supposed to be quite an expensive procedure which might not be affordable to everyone, but then it is certainly worth it for people who can want to get over kidney problems. At least there is some kind of support. It's not like a permanent solution. It's not like the patient permanently gets treated, but rather a procedure that helps reduce the burden on the patient's kidneys. Okay, so I think it's time for a quick check because we are nearing the end of the session. And here comes your first question. The main excretory organ in man is dash. Kidney, liver, skin, or gonads? And your time is up. The answer is kidney. Yes, main excretory organ. And the next question, the hormone which increases reabsorption of water from the kidney, what is it? DHA, somatostatin, ADH, or both A and B? Reabsorption of water. Your time is up. The answer is ADH, which is also called vasopressin. Okay, do remember this because they are synonymous, antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin. Now, the blood vessel which leaves the kidney is renal artery, renal vein, aorta, or inferior vena cava. Blood vessel which leaves the kidney. What do you think? Anything related to kidney has to have a prefix. What is that prefix? Yes, you guessed it right. The answer is renal vein. If you said renal artery, it's the opposite in the sense it's the blood vessel which brings blood into the heart, into the kidney. Okay, renal vein is the blood vessel which leaves the kidney. Okay, now comes the next question. The process by which the kidney regulates water content of the body is, what is it? Respiration, sweating, bile secretion, osmoregulation. All right, and your time is up. Osmoregulation is most certainly the answer. And we've seen how it occurs in coordination with your pituitary gland, right, with the help of ADH hormone. Now, on a cool and wet day, people urinate more. People tend to urinate more because of dash. Reduced rate of sweating, because kidney is more active on a wet day. Nephrons no longer absorb water, or all of these. What do you think? If you have ever experienced this on a winter day and compare it to your urination frequency on a summer day, what's the difference? Yes, the answer is because on a cool and wet day, people tend to sweat less and as a result tend to urinate more. Because if sweating rate is less, there has to be some other mechanism to get rid of the excess water in the body. And that is through urinating more. So very, very well done, children. Claps for all of you for having done so well and participated so well in the quiz. So let me remind you that you now know about the constituents of urine, the regulation of urine output, the phenomenon of osmoregulation, and how artificial kidney or hemodialysis is performed and why it is important. And here I have a homework question for you today. The tuft of capillaries inside the Bowman's capsule is called dash. Although this is something we had discussed in the last class, and it was a very, very simple one, definitely you must know the answer to this. And let's see how many of you give me the answer first. And in the meantime, do not forget to visit the link in the description box below. And of course, go through the comment, the pinned comment which is given below this video in the comment section. And of course, children, please do remember to hit the like button right now if you have found this useful and if you think this has given you better insights into the concept, because that is what is the best way, one of the best ways by which you can communicate to us that you have enjoyed this and you want more like this. And please do share it with all your friends, because I'm sure all of them will find it very, very useful, be it CBSE, ICSE or NEET aspirants. I'm sure everybody will find it useful. And please do subscribe to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English right now in case you haven't done it yet, because as you know, we keep working very, very, very hard on a daily basis and cover not just biology, all your science subjects, physics, chemistry, bio, math, English, SST, everything is covered here, so that it can be accessible to everyone. So spread word about it, children. Let your friends also benefit from this, because that is one of the ways by which you can spread kindness around the world also. And we will always be here to help you out happily. But until we meet again, please stay home, stay safe, stay healthy and happy. This is Ambika signing off. Take care, children. Bye-bye.